Since Kyle Busch announced that he was joining Richard Childress Racing and was eliminated from the playoffs a few weeks later, he's been relatively quiet. That changed in the most recent episode of the NASCAR docuseries Race for the Championship, where the two-time champion took several shots at the organization he's raced with for the last 15 years, including candidly calling out team owner Joe Gibbs. However, according to a couple of people with knowledge of the contract situation, Busch's harsh words and acting like a victim is just that, an act. What's intriguing is longtime teammate Denny Hamlin made an interesting revelation during an interview just last week that confirmed Busch's time at JGR didn't end because of his on-track performance, but his attitude. Before we get into this video, here's a quick word from today's video sponsor, Rocket Money. In today's economy, every dollar matters. I know I'm always looking for ways to save. However, knowing where to start can be a challenge. That's why I'm so thankful to have discovered Rocket Money, the all-in-one finance platform that helps you save more and spend less. When you start using the Rocket Money app, you can't help but get excited when you see its great features like lowering your bills, managing your subscriptions, or monitoring your credit score. That's right, you don't have to worry about those things separately anymore because the app manages everything for you in one place. Canceling unwanted subscriptions is my favorite tool because it immediately revealed that I had 2 ESPN Plus accounts I didn't even realize I had. $129 instantly saved. Another great way to save is using the Lower Your Bills feature, which allows you to identify providers like DirecTV or ADT Security, and Rocket Money negotiates with the companies for a lower bill. That's a savings of money and time because I know I would have never had the time to do that on my own. I'm so glad I heard about Rocket Money, and you will be too. Come join the 3.4 million members who use this great tool and save money on a daily basis. To try it out for free and unlock more features with premium, head to rocketmoney.com/checkered-flag. You'll be glad you did. Thanks again to Rocket Money for their support. The 2022 Cup Series season will be remembered for many things, including the new next-gen car, resulting concussions and absences from the said car, and a still yet to be determined champion. Another one of the biggest storylines this year was the Kyle Busch contract drama. It started back at Talladega in April.
You're getting antsy about it?
I'm not getting antsy about it. If it happens, it happens. If it don't, it don't. Goodbye.
So goodbye is an option?
Ask Joe Gibbs.
Have you been knocking on his door then?
Not my problem.
Is it their problem then, right?
Gotta sell it. If you don't sell it, then nothing to sell or nothing to have.
So it's all about the sponsor.
Correct.
That's got to be frustrating, though, in this day and age.
Yeah. Truck Series is probably 95% kids with money.
Do you feel that if you don't get anything from Gibbs, that there'll be somebody else out there that you land at?
Probably not.
Well, they're not going to let you go. They'll figure out something, won't they?
Ask Joe Gibbs.
After overcoming the shock from his comments, most thought, at least initially, that Busch would re-sign with JGR and return to the organization he had raced with for the last 15 years and won a pair of championships. However, with each passing month, it started to feel more and more like Busch and Gibbs might be heading for a divorce. Late summer brought on a sense of urgency, as multiple drivers had already announced their plans for 2023, and the number of seats available grew smaller. In early September, Busch finally ended the months of speculation when he announced that he would be taking his talent to Richard Childress Racing next year. Just a couple of weeks after the big announcement, Busch, who has had a below-average season with a lone win on the Bristol Dirt, was eliminated from the playoffs. As a result, his weekly sessions with the media ended, and he's never offered any real details of what transpired behind the scenes regarding his contract. Interestingly, the latest episode of the NASCAR docuseries Race for the Championship did just that. And it did so in a way that showed a driver who was unsure of his future and even more unsure of how it had gotten to this point.
To choose where you want to end your career.
Yeah, it'd be nice to not go through this again. This sucks.
It's like beyond me that we're even going through this. I never thought we'd go through this.
Not from all the words that we were given for years of, you're our guy, you're our franchise, you're gonna retire here, all that sort of stuff. So those were a lot of, whether you call it false promises or whatever, that's the scary piece.
Calling out JGR for its false promises wasn't the only critical thing the future Hall of Famer had to say about his soon-to-be former employer. Later in the show, and before the segment showing the press conference announcing his move to RCR, he talked about the disappointment of how it all ended and took direct aim at the team owner.
Something is so disappointing to me and so hurtful about this whole situation with JGR is they were like family. For 15 years, Joe had my back in the stupidest of moments that Kyle Busch was. Like, he was there for me, and it's gone. Like, it just flipped and gone. And it's like nothing I've ever been a part of.
Busch being candid has never been a problem. His candidness has gotten him in trouble plenty of times, or some of the stupidest moments he referenced. However, the 37-year-old showed a vulnerable side in the episode, but according to several people in the industry with knowledge of what happened behind the scenes, Busch acting like a victim is just that, an act. Freddie Kraft, who spots for Bubba Wallace and is part of the JGR organization through its affiliation with 2311 Racing, said on the latest Door Bumper Clear podcast that Busch isn't being truthful.
I feel pretty confident in saying Joe Gibbs did not fire Kyle Busch. I'm pretty sure there was a deal to be had there if Kyle Busch wanted to make one.
Yeah.
And, that's kind of where I'm at with it. You can
take off the word pretty and just say, I'm sure.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure. It's just, this just seems like kind of sour grapes after the fact.
If I were offered an 8-figure deal and I didn't take it, I don't think I would go play the victim.
Kraft and Brett Griffin know what's going on behind the scenes. You can regularly hear it in their weekly episodes when they share juicy tidbits on the industry happenings in obvious and sometimes more subtle ways. Griffin suggesting that it was an 8-figure deal makes sense. Busch was reportedly making between $15 to $25 million annually with his M&M sponsorship. He might have seen a $10 million offer from Gibbs and thought he could do better. Maybe he has at RCR. As for Kraft's remarks, he's closest to the situation. He's employed at 2311 by team co-owner Denny Hamlin, who has been Busch's teammate for 15 years. Suggesting it's sour grapes is a pretty bold take. Speaking of Hamlin, interestingly enough, he made a comment just last week on Danica Patrick's Pretty Intense podcast, which unintentionally confirmed that, like Busch suggested on the docuseries, Gibbs had flipped.
Everyone loves Kyle and what he brings to our sport on the racetrack. It's just off the racetrack that has been challenging for Kyle. And I think that, honestly, this is why he's making probably another team move, right? Is that, that he's not, the relationship with Hendrick and then with Gibbs didn't end because of his on-track performance. It just, it really started to take its toll off the racetrack, I think, for the race teams. And, it was tough. But
whether the 3-time Super Bowl winning coach flipped because he tired of Busch's antics or because the driver rejected the offer, or maybe a combination of the two, we'll likely never know. What we do know is the once thought to be franchise of the organization is in the middle of an ugly divorce that no one saw coming at the beginning of the year. As for next year, you can be sure that the driver is going to be extra motivated to show that, regardless of who ultimately made the decision, it worked out better for him. And if it doesn't work out, he'll at least act like it did, because apparently he's good at that.